Hey guys, I'm gonna have to apologize for the weed eater in the background. This is your forward clutch assembly. Yes, I've already pulled it apart because I'm busy trying to get things pulled apart to clean everything up, and then I forget that I'm not videoing it. But same process as pulling apart the direct drum. You're gonna have a snap ring. Hopefully you guys can see that down in there. So what you're gonna do is go over about, I've had good luck doing, let's say 2 lugs from the end of the ring. Get your screwdriver behind it, pop it up, and then just roll your screwdriver and it pops right out. Piece is your pressure plate, clutch pack out. And again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because we kind of went through this on the direct drum. You got your five frictions and 5 steels. Got some significant hot spots. Following all the recommendations on the Crankshaft Coalition website, how to rebuild Turbo 400 recipe or procedures. To me, these things are just scorched. I don't like that at all. You guys, that pressure plate is in good shape. I need to get it washed up. Okay guys, I got the forward hub and shaft assembly set up in my drill press so I can compress this down. Now I've orientated my opening on my small snap ring towards the camera. Okay guys, I cheated a little bit. This thing was fighting me. So went and got my other set of snap ring pliers. And lo and behold, I pulled down to release the springs. Got it with that. This thing took off on a flight. Bounced off 2 walls. Thank God I found it. Alright, so once you get this retaining plate that holds all your little release springs, you gotta find a way to account for that stupid shaft and get it into a situation where you can apply force to push down against all 16 of these springs to remove this one little clip. After you get this off, now keep in mind you've already removed your forward clutch pack and your pressure plate. So at this point, you're just gonna pull all these little springs out of here. Because remember, this is your forward clutch assembly or drum, hub, whatever kind of terminology or slang you want to put on it. You just got to pull your apply piston, and there's your lip seals. You have one in here, one out here, and then you have one on the inside here. To show you guys, this is what you end up with. Sure that your lip seal surfaces are all perfectly smooth. Checking this surface. Anything that seal has to seal, or I'm sorry, turn or seal to, you want to make sure it's perfectly smooth, no burrs, scratches, anything. The rear planetary setup with your output shaft, pull that off. Just remember that this gear has a flat side. If you look at that, it's perfectly flat. If you flip it over, this side has beveled teeth down inside the bore. Just remember, anytime you put this back into the transmission, these beveled teeth go into the assembly. You've got a thrust face, a nylon or whatever washer down in there you can pop out. Okay guys, what I was able to do is set it down in my drill press, was use this screwdriver to get under this lip. You can see how it's got that kind of a cutout, weird lip. Get it out and pry it up far enough that it caught on the inside of these lugs. Then you just have to grab it with your finger, pull in towards the middle, and you can get that thing out. Okay guys, now we got our snap ring removed. Let's pull this apart and see what we find. And keep in mind, after you remove that snap ring, don't try to pick it up by this part because that'll slide out of there. Output shaft. Right below this gear, there's a big O-ring. So, you know, if you guys get a rebuild kit and it comes with a big fat O-ring and you trying to figure out where it might go. There's an O-ring right behind there on this output shaft, so we can show you a little bit better. Come on. But that race was on this Torrington bearing, right? I haven't seen the other half of the race for this bearing, because this, again, this is a Torrington style bearing. But you should have this half of the race, your Torrington bearing, then the other part. Alright guys, I want to try to do the modification to the 2.3, I think they call it the 2.3 accumulator piston. Basically what they're doing is removing the spring from underneath this piston and then plugging this hole. And that is supposed to put more fluid, I'm assuming, to second and third gear. And because they talk about when you do this modification, it firms up the 1-2 and the 2-3 shifts. And because of that, you don't want to go super crazy when you're doing your drilling out your separator plate. That's aluminum, so that's not going to help. Alright. But you can't go super crazy when you're drilling out your 2 second gear and third gear orifices in your... sorry, I'm going mind dead right now because it's so freaking hot today. But you don't do super big on your holes when you make this modification to delete the spring, which someone had already done, by the way, on my valve body. That spring had already been removed, but they did not plug this hole. So that gets plugged with a 5/16 set screw. So I will get that thing taken care of, because you gotta, I'm not sure if I have to drill it out first or if I can just run a tap in it. Now it's gonna have to be drilled out a hair, because this is the, I think it's 764, so I'm not 100% sure. It came in a kit where I can do that, tap the hole, put just a dab of Loctite on it, and old Jed's a millionaire. So let me see if I can get this thing pulled out of here real quick and try to get this set up. Okay, real quick, like, this has a metal ring, sealing ring on it. So whenever you pull it out of there, I mean, if provided it's still in good shape, that little ring seals to that bore. You can hear it, listen. Okay, that's what seals that pressure behind that apply, or that piston. So that comes out, there's a spring behind there normally. You discard that, and then you would reassemble it. Some manuals say you don't have to reinstall your E-clip, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't put it on there. So basically you take that out, and you can either, if your sealing ring's in good shape, you could reuse it, or if your rebuild kit comes with new ones, by all means, put a new one on there. Clean your valve body. Of course, after you drill and tap on it, you got to make sure it's 151,000% clean. And then you would then reinstall this piston. I'm going to choose to put my E-clip back on, because I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. And that will be your 2.3, I think it's called an accumulator. Leave this as some kind of exhaust. You remove that spring. All the high performance recommendations is to plug this hole. So guess what I'll be doing next? Okay guys, I have drilled it to the 764. Okay, running the tap down. I don't want to tap too many threads, because I'd like for it to seal just at the top of that hole. I don't want to, go way down inside that hole. So I run that tap in there, and let's see what we got. All right, let's take this little jobber and see how we're doing. We may have to thread it down a little more. the main thing is it has to be seated and sealed and seated below this machine's surface so that it doesn't interfere with your separator plate. See, it's probably below it, especially if I cranked it down, but I think I'm gonna go just a hair deeper with the threads just to be safe, because I had envisioned, you know, what I wanted it to look like, and I'd like to have it, for peace of mind, I'd like to have it just a hair lower than that so that I can guarantee that it's not going to interfere with my valve cover, I'm sorry, my valve body spacer plate or anything like that. So about one more thread should be plenty, I would imagine. Hopefully you guys can see that in the video. I don't know why I say video. It's from like a YouTube channel I used to watch years ago. It just kind of stuck with me. So let's see what we got. So we're going to test fit. And basically what that does, it plugs the exhaust port from that well or that part of the... Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. See if you guys can see that. See, with that thing down in there that far, seating and sealing, you know you're not going to have any problems with interference to your separator plate or your valve body installation. That is the 2-3 Accumulator Mod, where you basically just remove your piston, discard the spring, and then plug the exhaust port with a 5/16 set screw. There it is in all its glory, guys. 5/16 set screw, sealing off that hole. I kind of took a time out there so I could blow out and clean out all those shavings, but you can see it's clearly way below this sealing surface, and I don't even have it, you know, cranked down for the final love tap. It's just snug in there because I'm going to pull it out to help clean everything when I clean the valve body. But then what you would do is work your sealing ring in here, and you got to kind of use your fingernail or a little something. You got to use your fingers or a screwdriver or something to kind of push in on that sealing ring. You would snap that down in there, reinstall your clip, which is pretty tight and hard to do with your fingers, but you get the idea of how that thing goes back on there. And that's your modification. That's your 2-3 accumulator modification for Performance Turbo 400. Not too bad, pretty easy, anybody can do it. That is my modification I want to do to the valve body. Now I got to wash this thing off and make sure that there's no debris down inside there so it's ready to go.